Wait a minute, it's been 6 months since I last uploaded? How'd that happen? I sorta lost access to my editing software, and the video I was gonna upload is currently lost until I can get the software back. I even made a thumbnail and everything for it. Look, it was gonna be on Twilight Princess. Basically had the entire video script typed out and edited. The entire video was practically done except for a few things, but you know, it's technically gone at the moment. You know what that means, right? It means enjoy the new videos that'll be coming out. The next one won't be 6 months from now, so trust me. Alright, enjoy the video. Among all the JRPGs I've played, NieR Automata was one of the games at the forefront that felt like it was truly something special. In its simplest form, you can probably just describe this game as a bunch of androids try to save humanity by taking back the Earth from the machine lifeforms that were created by invading aliens that just wanted to destroy humans. Sounds like a very simple concept, I know. If my very simple plot summary of the game interests you, stop watching and go play it, because we're about to get into heavy spoiler territory, baby. These androids work for a company called Yorha, which focuses entirely on trying to save humanity. Upon beginning the game, we are introduced to our protagonist 2B during this arcade-style shooting section in the air before transitioning to a third-person action game after she crashes right into a wall. The game almost immediately throws you into a boss fight right after barely getting adjusted to the controls. It's not a hard fight, just very unexpected for someone who doesn't know the controls very well. Our second protagonist comes in to save the day named NieR, who is a scanner type android, whereas 2B is a battle type. 2B is quite an interesting character as she comes off as a cold individual who doesn't want to have her or other people's emotions affect her during her missions. This is quite evident from the beginning when you first meet NieR, as she distances herself from him in order to focus on the main task at hand. Oh, and she also makes a lot of people extremely fond of her because of her appearance. The developers clearly knew what they were doing, because it's an achievement for looking at her ass several times. If you position the camera in a certain way, she'll get angry at you and forcefully move the camera. NieR, on the other hand, is your average happy-go-lucky guy who loves being around others as it makes him feel less lonely. Unlike 2B, he has trouble keeping his emotions in check, which causes some problems in the future, but we'll come back to that later. As you make your way through the abandoned factory, you end up finding loads of machines that are held up in there. The game does a lot of camera switching in the factory, which can be a little jarring, but other than that, the combat feels silky smooth. You can do basic light attacks, heavy attacks, a combination of both, and more, but these are generally the ones you'll be using throughout the game. The lock-on is alright, but it could definitely be improved, especially in these sections. Whenever I think of a lock-on feature in games, I always compare it to a game like The Legend of Zelda. I think that game's lock-on is really good and allows you to swap between enemies seamlessly without any issues. This game, however, has you pressing the same button to lock off and try to lock on another enemy, which can get really annoying. You're also given a pod, which allows for ranged combat, which is quite useful, but because of this game's controls, it can be hard for some people to be constantly using it. The pod's ability and evading are on the same portion of the controller. I had to adapt to it, so the weird controls eventually became second nature. The pod has two abilities that can be used at one time. Depending on which pod you use, you'll have a different one. The secondary ability can be changed whenever you want and can be useful depending on the situation, but I generally just stuck with the laser since I thought that one was the best. Alright. Back to the factory. Heading down to where the large-scale enemy is supposedly will throw you into another boss that was actually quite difficult on my first playthrough. NieR sacrifices himself to save 2B from being hit by the giant excavator arm, which in turn makes him fall with style. She storms up to him and tries to repair NieR, but uh-oh, he's not in a suitable state to repair. While you destroy the original machine, NieR uses his last ounce of brain power to upload 2B's data and not his own to the server. Kinda weird. Suddenly, more pop out of the water, so they detonate their personal nuclear weapon in their pocket in order to destroy the enemy. They respawn in this place called the bunker, which is their base of operations where all the androids are stationed before going out on missions. Since 2B's data was uploaded before they blew themselves up, she was able to retain all of her memories. But 9S wasn't able to, so he doesn't remember anything, not even being told to not call her ma'am, which really seems to piss her off. Afterwards, 9S helps you set up the settings for the game, and it is so much fun to mess around with. Eventually, you'll be free to move around the bunker and head down to the city ruins. Now, the city ruins isn't a very big place, but it's sort of like the hub area that connects every other part of the world together. I really love the way it looks. The city just looks absolutely overrun with vegetation and animals, with some enemies mixed in there, I guess. The abandoned and collapsed buildings, everything is just so beautiful. I can't help but appreciate every little bit of detail. My favorite part is the oversized boars you can find, or, you know, fishing. It's not a JRPG without fishing. It's kinda weird to say this, but the fishing in this game isn't the worst. If you're trying to grind the fish section of the menu, then it's pretty easy. You just aim the pod and wait until it dips under the water to pull it back up. One of my favorite tropes in RPGs is that the really good weapons are the ones that look like they'd be just awful. If you fish in the sewers long enough, you'll eventually find the iron pipe, which from my knowledge is like one of the best weapons in the whole game. It's also light, so it's probably going to be your most used weapon. So we were tasked with heading to the resistance camp, and after getting sidetracked, we eventually met its leader, Anemone. Anemone is a cool character. We learn more about her later, but from the first interaction, she seems alright. In the resistance camp, we have several salespeople who make us do side quests so we can access their shops. Side quests in NieR Automata aren't the craziest thing ever, but they certainly aren't hard. The worst ones that you'll have to do a couple times is escort a slow-ass NPC that requires you to fight enemies along the way. Others are just kill enemies and pick up certain parts with them, or literally just fight a machine. The resistance camp also has a jukebox, so you can listen to your favorite songs you heard throughout the game. Only in this small space though. The second you leave, the music just resets. Kind of dumb if you ask me. One of the resistance camp shops allows you to obtain new weapons. Not only can you buy new weapons, but you can also upgrade them too. Can you believe that? The max weapon upgrade level normally just so happens to be 3, but if you can find the secret weapon shop, you can upgrade them to level 4. Upgrading weapons is kinda tedious because you'll need to grab a ton of super specific items that you most likely won't have already. It's interesting to lock max weapon level behind a secret, but I'd say it's worth the several trips you'll take. Another shop allows you to buy plugin chips. These are like your skills. The game allows you to fully customize your skill set to what you'd want. Most of the chips that are automatically put onto your character aren't required, so you can remove them if you'd like, but don't remove your OS chip though, or else. I really love this idea. Being given the freedom to make the build I want, which is something almost every RPG allows you to do, is just amazing. I'm glad it's like this though and not a standard skill tree. It would be way less interesting and not very fun to mess around with. Every skill has different size requirements, so you'll have to mix and match for efficient usage of the space you have to work with. I personally like movement and health, so that's what my build mostly consists of, with some damage buffs mixed in there somewhere. Alright, gotta make a move on to the desert.
The Council of Humanity has a message for all of our brave androids fighting on the surface. Currently, our struggle against the machine life forms is at a stalemate. This battle has raged for far too long. I am sure all of you find the effort grueling. But now is not the time to give up. Now, more than ever, we must forge on. Remember that several 100,000 humans on the moon want nothing more than to return to Earth. Glory to mankind.
Those council broadcasts are always so stiff.
God, I suddenly feel really motivated to help fight for humanity. We meet a character by the name of Jackass, who is in a lot of side quests for some reason. She is like the most used, underused character. She's a really cool character and I love that they use her, but come on. I wish she was used in the story more. Like, her name is Jackass, why wouldn't they use her more? She decides that the safest way to open the gates to the desert is distracting people while she blows them up. Opening them normally might have been the easier solution, but what do I know?
There's gotta be an easier way, right?
In the desert, they somehow missed the easiest bad joke of all time. God damn it, game. Fine, I'll do it myself. Apartment complex. Doesn't look very complex to me. Anyways, eventually we get to an area where we get to watch the robots imitate human behavior. Look, they're just taking care of a child. Don't look at the other ones having sex, just look at the baby. Calms the thoughts, you know. Better that than watching two machines get busy. I'll be quite honest. Holy shit, we're witnessing the birth of an android? From the eyes of the average person, you'd think so. But you're wrong. This is Adam, a machine life form who was made to appear like a human. His boss fight is really interesting, but I wish it was just more difficult. He levels up the more you attack him, which I guess is symbolic of how fast machine life forms are capable of learning and evolving. His attack patterns change the more he levels up, which is just really cool. I love this fight, but I just wish it was harder. What's even weirder here is the second birth that comes after you kill Adam. Yeah, he just decides to give birth again to regenerate himself and take care of the other one that is technically just a dead body. But who the hell knows? After leaving the collapsing area, they contact the bunker and let them know about the machine life forms they had just encountered. I guess I forgot to do so I'll talk about them now. Each android is given an operator to help them in their missions on the surface. 2B's operator, Operator 60, has a very familiar voice that I just can't quite put my finger on.
I guess it's time for you to go to hell.
Operator 60 is definitely an interesting character, and she just so happens to be one of my favorites. I love her energetic personality. I would say I love her design, but all the operators have the same design, so I guess I really love the way the operators are designed. I'll talk more about why she's one of my favorites later. Afterwards, we head to the amusement park where other androids had gone missing, and what do we have here? The amusement park looks so cool. It really nails the abandoned aesthetic with all these machines around as well. Something I think is really cool is how some areas just have different looking machines. Look at these guys. They're clowns. Everyone loves clowns, right? There's this roller coaster section that's played in 2D, and it's really disorienting while trying to fight the machines. It's not like it's terrible or anything, but the coaster is moving very fast while enemies are spawning, which kinda makes it easy to lose your character when you're also moving just as fast. At least it was for me anyway. The songstress is such a cool boss. I love the play aesthetic in this fight. She has a few phases, but nothing too major. You basically just wail on her while dodging all her small attacks, which isn't where the fight gets really cool in my opinion. It starts to get really cool when she begins dropping the missing androids and using them to try and hurt you. It's such an interesting concept. The perspective also changes for this portion, which is also really cool. I didn't mention it yet, but her design is also so cool. I'm absolutely in love with it, just like a lot of things in this game. Eventually, she goes down. Oh look, an elevator is just sitting here. Where does this lead? It kinda reminds me of something. Anyways, heading out of the building, a robot with a white flag is waiting for us and asks us to come to their village. I always trust strangers, so of course I'd say yes, I'm not an asshole. Ah yes, a village filled with machine life forms. So much XP, yes! I mean, let's talk to their leader. Pascal is again such a cool character. I feel like I'm gonna say that for every character I think I talk about. He's a machine that detests fighting, so we created a village with other machines in hopes of living peacefully as pacifists by being disconnected from the machine network. The machine network is very self-explanatory, but it's basically a network that connects every machine together. That's pretty much all it is, which is why Pascal is a very special machine. He has the ability to spread his wisdom and teach it to others. We learn more about Pascal later, but from what the game tells you about him at this moment, made me so much more interested in him than before. It also relays to the player about the different kinds of machines that are capable of existing in this world. Anyways, we do some backtracking because we can't teleport, and give some stuff to an enemy at the resistance camp before heading back to Pascal and giving him a filter. Turns out a massive fucking machine is just terrorizing the middle of city ruins for some reason, so we do the thing we do, and gotta stop it. The huge ass machine boss comes back again while trying to scale a building, but it's just 10 times easier because of the power of leveling up. Yippee! More arcadey style shooting sections! Yeah, there isn't much to say about this since all of these will pretty much play out the same. The whole fucking middle of the city just collapsed. Surely nothing bad will come from checking it out. Oh, so the aliens have been dead this whole time? Oh god damn it, it's this guy. So we meet again, Adam. And who do we have here? Eve, you say? We caught them monologuing, but there's not much we can do about it. Beating them up just gives them their health back. Heading back out after beating them, we meet up with... wait, Jackass? Looks like she finally installed teleporters in the vending machines. Finally! Backtracking won't take so long now. After meeting up with the commander and talking to Pascal, we head on over to the Forest Kingdom, which for some reason has an entrance right behind a shopping center. Guess who? That's right, it's Emil. If you guessed right, I'll give you a pretty cool looking gold star. Apparently, he was put inside a machine's head for some reason. I'm not sure if this part is even explained anywhere in the game. It's just like this because why not? I'll come back to Emil, don't worry. The Forest Kingdom is alright. I do find it really annoying maneuvering around all these massive trees and hearing the machine say the same thing over and over again.
Ready, aim, intruders, ready for action now. Ready, aim, intruders, ready for action now.
But besides that, it's great. As a location, it's very beautiful. Everything just looks incredible. I know I complained about the oversized trees, but they really complete the feeling of a forest. I'm glad it's in the game. What's next? Oh yeah, the castle. Upon entering the castle, the game swaps perspectives again, which I really enjoyed. Turns out the king of the forest is a baby? Fuck, it's dead. Am I allowed to show this on this platform? This is A2, which is our third and final protagonist. If you looked at the box for 3 seconds, you'd probably wonder where she was in the game. Well, here she is. Well, there she goes. From the 30 seconds you get to interact with her, you don't really get to understand her all that much. She's a bit rude. Apparently the beef between her and Command is classified. Okay, I guess. Won't question it. Guess who's tasked with protecting missiles in the flooded city? Me. The flooded city is probably my second least favorite place in this whole game. Just like the rest of the world in this game, it's just aesthetically beautiful, and I loved exploring it, but it's just so small. You literally go there for one mission. Obviously, there's some side quests and stuff, but it's just kind of depressing that it's so underutilized. Oh, and it has these golden fuckers. I kinda hate the fact these guys even exist. They take almost no damage, no matter the level you are, and they're just kind of annoying. Anyways, after protecting the missiles, we were ordered to attack this giant beast that was underneath the ocean. This is probably the best use of the shooting sections. They make you do so many things instead of just sitting there shooting machines in the air. Boom, it's dead. Where's 9S? Game. Where is he? If you remember the fact I mentioned a while ago how you can apply different programs to your pods that do different things, well, here's where this actually comes in. In order to locate 9S, you actually need to use the scanner program, which will eventually take you to the copied city. Since it's around the same area as the alien ship, I got mixed up and went to a different area instead of the city. The copied city is my favorite place in this whole game. Everything looks so beautiful. I fucking love the white aesthetic here. Oh my lord. Oh my fuck, the music. God, I love the music here. Everything just feels so complete in this singular area. What's even better is that I finally got what I wanted. A harder fight against Adam. It's a little different compared to the original fight against him, but the best part is, it's harder. Oh my god, how I love that. He wanted to have a true battle in order to learn the difference between life and death, so he disconnected himself from the machine network. Well, I mean, he just knows he's gonna die, so I guess he just wanted to go out with a bang? I truly commend this guy for doing that. He really does go out with a bang, and it's so good. I absolutely love it. Oh yeah, this is where 9S is held. Guess I should have mentioned that before gushing about how much I love this place. While 9S is being repaired, 2B and Pascal go to the abandoned factory to discuss a peace treaty between machines. Listen, I know how cool of a place this is as well as the part of the story, but I just don't like the place myself. Something about the factory just doesn't really sit right with me. Maybe it's because it's extremely linear and the perspective change isn't very good here, or it's something else. I'm not too sure. The factory is just the one part of the game I just really don't like. When 100%ing this game, I absolutely hated needing to go back to the factory. It's something I just dread for some reason. Anyways, the boss in the factory is one I always remembered being way harder. I must have just gotten better at the game over time. It's an alright boss, with nothing really to write home about. It rolls, which is something. Exiting the factory, we watch Pascal just casually fly away.
This is the resistance camp.
Say again? I'm not receiving.
Scanning for interference.
Heading back to the resistance camp, we see machines just casually eating androids. And speaking of casually, Anemone is just chilling there, making me kill the rest of the machines plaguing the camp. Just a casual Friday to her. Whoa, the final boss is Eve? Man, who would have known? The game literally gives you a cutscene where Eve has an episode saying he's going to kill everyone after being depressed about his brother being killed. So I mean, that might have been the cue that he was the final boss. Eve's boss fight is by far the best one in the game. I'd say that it's like Adam's, but on crack, which is what I'm here for. I like crack. I can sit here and praise these boss fights for a long ass time, but like all good things, it must come to an end. But after like, I don't know, 20 minutes.
It always ends like this.
Wait a second, 2B.
Who are...
It looks like I left my personal data in the machine side of things. Next thing I knew, my sense of self was regenerated over the surrounding network. Having multiple selves fused together like this is a pretty valuable experience, so I wanted to record it. But I couldn't access any storage areas yet, so I just multiplexed it over the memories of some nearby enemies so that when I returned to my own body,
Yes. I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah.
What is it that separates machines from androids like us? The machines have gained emotions, consciousness. The final screams they summoned on the edge of death. They still echo within me.
I feel like I'm losing hope in my body and my soul and the sky. It looks so
So that was NieR Automata Route A. Playing the game once was so much fun, but don't you go anywhere because the game's not over yet. Let's see, that was around 15 hours. We still have about 20 hours to cover, but it shouldn't take too long. I mentioned how that was Route A. Well, you'll never believe it, but there's actually a Route B and C. The real endings in this game extend all the way up to E, but did you know that they have 22 side endings? I don't want to call them joke endings because not all of them are. I'm not going to discuss all 22 other endings, so if you'd like to know, either play the game or look them up. Did you know the easiest ending to get in this game can literally be obtained almost immediately upon beginning the game? Go to your nearest shop and sell your OS chip. Boom, ending. Anyways, back to the story. Route B is just replaying the same game over again, but from the perspective of a machine? Yeah, you play the whole game again, but as a machine this time. Playing as a machine is kinda slow, so it's definitely a bold decision to do this. Ha ha ha, just kidding, you play as 9S. I got you, didn't I? Yeah, I know I didn't, but I like to think I did. Haha. I actually really enjoyed playing as him because it was really different and unique, just like the rest of this game. Instead of brute forcing my way through almost every battle, I had to think about the best course of action to take. Since he's a scanner model, he's focused more on hacking instead of slashing. The hacking is a very interesting minigame. It's a very simple and entertaining minigame that doesn't get boring at all. At least to me. Obviously, I'll always prefer the more entertaining battle style, so attacking enemies, but hacking is a nice change of pace once in a while. It's also very broken against certain enemies. Those golden machines I mentioned earlier are extremely weak to his hacking, which is a massive plus. It just means I don't have to mess with them anymore. They can die. Also, it plays an 8-bit version of the song being played in the background while doing it, so you get to hear a different arrangement of your favorite song. Boom. Instantly one of the best parts of this game. 9S also has its own specific side quests that have you use as hacking, which is really fun. Most of the time, it basically boils down to, gotta hack into this. One of my favorite side quests in this game revolves around finding out who killed this person's friend. One thing leads to another, and that's where you'll get to hear this.
Sounds like that red hood was a gift of some sort.
Gifts are such a useless ritual.
Wow, okay. Where'd that come from?
It's rude to give a person something without their permission. What if they don't want it?
I think it's more about the feeling behind it than the actual item, right?
Feelings are prohibited.
Yeah.
One affirmation will suffice.
Oh, for the love of... Fine. Yeah.
You also do side quests for 9S's operator. They're just okay, both her and the side quests. Operator 210 is a very cold person who is probably designed to have a one-note personality. Unlike 2B's, 9S's operator practically has no personality, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Obviously it's intentional, but that doesn't really matter. I'm also not gonna say I love her design again, because they all look the same. Instead of every cutscene being replayed, it replaces some of them with new ones that give more context to the machine lifeforms. I really love the inclusion of this. Throughout all of them, it tells the player about how each machine is its own living being, one who is unique from all the rest, one who has evolved to experience emotions and imitate more of humanity. Along with these, we get to see more cutscenes with Adam and Eve about how they chose to imitate humanity in their own way. These being included are some of my favorite moments in this game. This route is going to be way shorter than 2B's because of the section where 9S is just completely absent in the story. In the copied city, before 2B kills Adam, he talks to 9S about all the feelings he has buried deep inside of him. There's this ambiguous portion here which can mean loads of things. Does 9S want to fuck 2B, or does it mean more than that? In the context that 9S and 2B become very fond of each other over the course of the game, you'd probably consider this as a possibility, because you aren't wrong in a sense. 9S loves 2B and desires affection from her and other people, but obviously the way the game censors it leaves it up to the player's interpretation, which is really cool. The factory portion is also interesting as 9S, because you get to control a machine as you navigate through the factory to help create an exit for 2B. I vastly prefer this version to the original because of how much shorter and cooler it really is. It is also during this point where 9S finds out the truth about humanity. Everything was faked to give androids something to fight for. They created this whole fabrication so it lifted the morale of androids. Humanity has been extinct for a really long time, even before the aliens had even invaded. Something I don't understand is that 9S didn't have the guts to tell 2B, so this conversation was practically for naught. Besides a few things, I believe that Route B is just as good as the first playthrough in my eyes, because it just provides more context to the story and the world around you, which I'm all for. Also, you get to listen to the Japanese version of the credit song, which sounds incredible.
And so, the final battle with Adam and Eve came to an end. This battle will likely have a great effect on the outcome of the war. 2B and I, our battle will continue for some time to come. But that's another story, for another day.
消えゆく救い途絶える体空は今も暗く止まった時計鳴らない機械声届かなくてこれが僕
I would have talked about this when talking about his side quests, but a little more context needed to be given. So one of my favorite side/not-so side quests in this game is the one that has you hacking all three of these machines. Inside of the machine's head will show you their inner thoughts, which harbor the main themes of the game. They are all in so much pain over their own existence in this world. They are all struggling to find meaning and find out who they are. The world hates them. No one's looking out for them. It's their own job to carve their own path in life. One of the machines realizes this and couldn't handle the necessary actions required to be your own person and took its own life.
This world has no need for us. There is only one solution.
I can't believe that thing decided to end itself.
The never-ending cycle of their battle is too much for them to handle. They are constantly witnessing death all around them. These themes are echoed throughout the entire game. The deserting androids who just want to live their lives and not be forced into fighting a never-ending battle. Finding a reason to fight. A purpose in life. 9S knows humanity is extinct, but chooses to continue fighting because he needs a purpose in life to find it fulfilling. And without that, he's practically a husk with a human face. I'll touch on this a little more in a bit. I want to take a step back and talk about this game's music because holy crap, it just does everything so right. It's also beautiful. I don't know much about music, but The City Ruins just is the most beautiful song playing in the background. I've heard this is done in other Yoko Taro games, but the music that is played in side quests to tell you when to feel sad It just works. I'm pulling a page right out of Todd Howard's head. It just works. It's done in such a way that it gets your brain feeling things just in case the writing fails. My favorite song in the game is tied between City Ruins, Shade, and Weight of the World. All versions. Doesn't matter if it's English, Japanese, French, everything. They're just so good. I usually listen to them both at least once every time I listen to music. I think I'll stop rambling with the music now. Just know that it is incredible and should be appreciated way more than it already is. Oh yeah, Route C time. So this actually takes place after the events of the game. So an epilogue of sorts that's like maybe around 10 hours, but that depends if you're doing just the story or side quests or not. It has this whole cinematic and stuff that's just of cutscenes you'll see in like 2 minutes. It looks cool, so it's got my attention. It even has its own NieR Automata logo made for it. With Adam and Eve gone, androids prepare for a massive invasion to wipe out all the machines in the city. Something that is really interesting about this point in the game is that it swaps between characters on the fly. You begin by playing as 9S and surveying the area to wipe out the enemy's aerial defenses, and then swap to 2B after they meet up and help assist the front lines by taking out the enemies stationed there. Upon dealing with the last territory, an EMP attacks everyone, inflicting them with a virus. Something I found really cool here is that since it swaps back to 9S while the other androids are stunned, and you are hit by one of the EMPs, it can have several effects on the way the game functions at the moment. It's pretty annoying when, you know, the visuals are tampered with and you can't fucking see or anything, or when you can no longer attack. But it looks cool. I'm glad it's there. After 9S is able to hack 2B, they hold out until they eventually are forced to detonate their nuclear weapon in their pocket so they can return to the bunker. Turns out the virus has spread to the whole bunker and everyone inside has been infected with it.
Bingo!
This is where I wanted to talk more about Operator 6-0. Even though she's infected with the virus, she's still conscious and is able to thank 2B for giving her the flowers she really wanted to see. I love her personality so much. She is so kind, and even amidst everything that's going on, she still tries to thank 2B, which is just so amazing. After exiting the bunker, they are attacked by infected Yorha units. 2B figures out that something is wrong, and pushes 9S away from her so she can figure it out. Eventually, her flight unit just gives out and she crashes. She's been infected with the virus and has to make it to an area where she can go out peacefully without infecting anyone in the process. After making her way to the shopping center, none other than A2 saves her from being attacked. 2B asks her to take care of 9S and everyone for her. As this occurs, 9S reaches the area and sees that A2 had killed 2B. 9S goes batshit insane and falls. 2B's death is a very sad moment in this game. You are with her for the entire game only for her to eventually be forced to end her life. 9S has just lost his only reason to continue onwards. Without 2B, he really does feel like he has no purpose, which is why he's so insistent on wanting to kill everything and everyone who's wronged him. It gives him a purpose in life. I could really summarize the entirety of Route C as being the point in the game where everything goes to shit. On a happier note, get to play as A2 now, as well as 9S. This portion of the game is something really cool, where it allows you to play as a certain character. You will be forced to play the character's perspective anyways, so it's basically just asking which way you'd like to experience the story. It doesn't matter which order you choose, but for the purposes of this video, I'll be talking about each character's perspective before they eventually intertwine. A2's up first, and begins with her waking up. She plays almost identical to 2B, except she gets a taunt button, which is cool I guess. Her evasion is much longer, and she even has a berserker mode. Her berserker mode basically just allows her to do a crazy amount of damage while she slowly takes damage over time. I personally didn't use it all that much, but it's so fun to activate and absolutely annihilate everything in your sight. It's introduced when she uses it while fighting a massive machine in the desert before blacking out. Upon her waking up, she'll need to get a new filter installed, so she goes to the resistance camp. At the resistance camp, A2 and an enemy share a tender moment reflecting on the time they last saw each other. It's optional to look at, but you are able to look at the files that Anemone kept of their battle at Pearl Harbor. It's not much of a description of her, but it basically just tells you that she's someone who's more cautious of the situation she's put in, and that she was forced to kill someone. Yep, that's Anemone. Anyways, she refers A2 to Pascal in order to fix her oil filter, which gets done faster than you think because I can actually use fast travel. Imagine how fast parts of this game could get completed if fast travel was just available from the beginning. A2 on her way back to Pascal's village finds transit in ruins with machines eating each other alive. Pascal is luckily able to take all the children to the factory where they can be safe. Seeing Pascal's village like this really made me feel awful. It's different watching a video and playing the game, but the game does a tremendous job making the player understand machine life forms. Nearing the end of Route A and the beginning of Route C shows the evolution machines have gone through over the course of the entire game. Having to kill the machines kinda hurts, but it has to be done to progress the game. At the factory, Pascal and A2 have to protect the outside from the incoming machines. I really love Pascal's attitude here. He really wants to protect his loved ones, and he'll do it any means necessary. There's this little part where Pascal takes control of one of those big guys and just fucking decimates the other one. Afterwards though is where it feels really awful. They head back into the factory to see all the children machines have killed themselves. Pascal blames himself for teaching them what fear was, hoping they try to avoid danger if they knew what could happen. He begs A2 to erase his memories, kill him, or do nothing. It's hard to sit through this in a good way. I always feel like it's an obligation to erase Pascal's memories because there's absolutely no way I'd want to live the rest of my life knowing I witnessed something as horrifying as this. It's very heavy stuff, and if the game didn't make you care about machines in any way, then something like this wouldn't really be that effective in getting you to feel for Pascal. Did you forget about Emile? I sure didn't. I swear. Before talking about 9S, I thought I'd mention Emile. If you don't care for him, skip to the timestamp on screen. It won't be that long, so just sit back. He's not very involved in this game, but he's, you know, there. He has a roaming shop which changes goods depending on your location, which is kinda shit, but it's there. He has a few side quests and an entire ending dedicated to him. He's also a fucking level 99 boss fight, which is just absolutely insane. I do not have gameplay of it myself because I already 100% of the game a while ago and have yet to do so again, so enjoy someone else's gameplay. They will be in the description. Amiel's a fun, quirky guy. I don't really have much to say about him because I haven't played NieR Replicant. 9S eventually wakes up in the resistance camp after being repaired by Devil and Popola. They are characters from NieR Replicant. I haven't played the game yet, so I can't really go into much detail besides the fact they are providing assistance as a way of atoning for their mistakes in the past. Do I know what those mistakes are? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But this is a review for NieR Automata, so they are basically just background characters here. Anyways, there's this huge tower that spawned in the middle of the city ruins, and it turns out in order to unlock it, you'll have to grab some keys from the various boxes located around the world. By various, I mean 3. 9S's side is a little simpler to play through. It's him just going batshit insane while investigating these boxes. These boxes are basically just little tests and stuff. Beat some enemies here, hack some boxes there. You get the gist of it. I love the names of these. Ah yes, the meat box. Now if there isn't a Big Mac in here, I don't know who they're trying to fool. Oh, well shit. Look at the size of that burger. Design-wise, they all look like a huge cylinder. Go figure. Oh look, it's Operator 2.0, except she's a battle android now? She's quite an easy fight, honestly. What do you mean I'm wounded? I fought her very easily. Upon A2 entering and saving 9S from literally being killed, he just kinda falls down a hole after getting angry. Let's go, we finally get to kill the machine's big brother. 9S wakes up 2 weeks later, and we finally get to enter the tower. So Devil and Popola decide to show up out of nowhere? Okay, alright, I know I said they were background characters, but they do say afterwards that they helped as a way to help them atone for their mistakes in the past. The tower is literally a portal. This thing is massive on the inside, my god. Upon searching more of the tower, 9S enters a room filled with a bunch of 2B androids.
I'm glad I got to see you here. I truly am. I'll tear you apart. Every last one of you!
Seems like 9S is really excited to see her. After destroying them, they all explode and boom, swaps to A2. She does the same thing and enters the tower, but instead comes across a strange looking white library. What game could this be from? As she enters the library, she stumbles upon something that the game just doesn't tell us because we get to find out later. It quickly swaps back to 9S where he has to repair himself by tearing the arm off a lone 2B body sitting right next to him. The same thing happens as it did with A2, and the red girls provide him with information that's just not told to us until later. I wish the game didn't do this because it's not like it'll affect the story in a negative way if the player learns that stuff now. Obviously, because the game does it, I won't be sharing it until it gets brought up. The archive you receive from them is called Yorha Disposal, so it kinda tells you what it'll be about, but not in the detail you're looking for. And you can't even look at it in the menu, so You literally won't find out until later. Before swapping back to A2, 9S steals a flight unit from a corrupted android. A2 is hacked while trying to proceed forward and is forced to come into contact with the red girls. The two of them are unable to come to the conclusion they want, so they end up fighting to the death over it, and are also compared to humans at the same time.
They're acting like humans.
This is the part of the tower I really like. I really like how it just swaps between both A2 and 9S on the fly without the need of a loading screen. Since they are both heading up to the top of the tower while fighting a giant ball, it uses transitions to swap between them and it just looks so cool. This basically goes on until they both kill their respective ball and reach the top of the tower. At the top, they finally meet up and decide to team up to take the giant testicle down. I really like how it swaps between them here. Every time you do a certain amount of damage to the boss, it swaps between them so it changes up your strategy on the fly. Upon taking them down, the two stand across from each other and tell the player the respective things they had learned that were just not told to you until now. 9S had learned that the androids were designed to be killed, and the bunker made sure of it by having a program activate after a certain amount of time. A2 learned that 2B was actually an executor type android designed to execute other androids, but most importantly, scanners because they're high-end models. 2B was absolutely heartbroken every time she had to kill 9S. That's why at the end of Route A, 2B says, "Why does this happen every time?" It's because of the fact she is constantly fighting a battle that will never end and is forced to kill 9S every time. After this, you get to choose who you want to play as for the final fight. Upon beating either one of them, you'll get the ending and finish Route C. After the credits, you unlock the chapter select option and are now given the ability to go back and play as the other characters to get the other ending. When you do it as both, you get a final ending as the conclusion to Project Yorha. You fight the developers of the game for making the androids constantly fight this never-ending battle. After finally completing NieR Automata, you are rewarded with the ability to view the research report about the machines. At least I believe you get it for completing the game. The Red Girls, or N2 as its actual name, were the ones commanding the machine network this entire time. It turns out that the machine lifeforms were created and designed with a single purpose, which was to defeat the enemy. But because of how evolution works, the machine eventually turned on their creators and killed them. The machines realized that in order to continue with their goal of defeating the enemy, they actually required one. This is where N2 reached its contradictory conclusion. One side didn't want every single android to be destroyed, or else there would be no more enemies to use in order to evolve further, and another side wanted the eradication of all who stood in the way. To help resolve this issue, machine lifeforms intentionally disconnected themselves from the network, resulting in different types of evolutionary patterns between machines. This created special machines like Pascal. See, we got to learn more about Pascal. Hope you're happy. The creation of N2 came directly from acquiring the information from humanity transforming the machine network. And all of this was put together by our best friend, Jackass. Well, that was Route C, which means this marks the end of NieR Automata. Route C is one of the best parts of this game. I enjoyed almost all of it, apart from the minor information the game holds from you until the very end. If I keep going, I don't think I'm going to stop talking about the game, so it's time to come back to where it all began. I loved NieR Automata. Is it a perfect game by any means? Of course not. Yes, I may gush about almost everything in this game being amazing. That's because it created several memories for me that I'll always remember. The characters, world, music, everything just feels so alive. The story is absolutely fantastic and hits it right where it should. The need to play the game multiple times seems rather unnecessary, but it's done in such a way that it makes it a refreshing experience. Epilogue, oh, the epilogue. It is such an incredible conclusion to this long story. I will absolutely play this game again in the future because I just enjoy it that much. Watching a video and playing the game are two completely different things, so I hope you'll decide to play the game if you'd like. I fully recommend it. This game is just filled with so much content that you'll definitely get your money's worth out of it. These types of videos take so long to make, so I'll try and get them out in a shorter time frame. Now that this is out, I gotta prepare for Persona 3 Reload in the coming days.